Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Sportscast podcast. This week, myself and James will be discussing the weekend's football and various other sports, and Jordan will be putting together a little bit of a Formula One recap at the end. James, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, my man. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Well, yes, well, but a very croaky voice.
You do sound very, very husky, as we should say.
Yes, it's my attempt at wooing the audience with a husky voice. However, I don't think that'll be the case.
No.
So, but another week has flown by, really. A lot has happened. We've had a bit of Champions League, bit of Europa League, my favourite FA Cup weekend, and then...
Oh, yeah, I love FA Cup, man.
Yeah, I get so excited for the draw. I watched the draw today. I'd obviously, I had something personal going on, but I was still sat watching the draw at 1 o'clock. So, it was... we got Cambridge at home, Blackburn, but a few other really nice draws. But
my team have got Liverpool at home, so there's some big games in that third round draw. We're going to see a lot of the big teams going out very early on.
Yeah, I think Chelsea. I want to say Huddersfield.
No, Chelsea got Preston North End.
Preston, was it?
Yeah, Man City, you got Huddersfield.
Man City, I knew one of the big teams, and you kind of, Preston have been flying. They've dropped off a little bit in the Championship at the minute, but it's not an easy game. Some of these, Huddersfield for Man City should be a straightforward, but yeah, I'll
tell you the one game I'd look forward to watching, and I don't know why. I think both teams they've certainly got a bit of form at the moment. Peterborough United and Leeds United. Peterborough knocking out your home team at Doncaster in round 2. And Leeds United have been on a bit of a run as well. So I think that'll be a very interesting game to watch, if truth be told.
And Leeds had a very good Hillsborough. I think it was 2-1 after 6 minutes. End up winning 3-2. But yeah, there's some Coventry, Oxford. You've got them League One teams float. Coventry, I know the Championship, but you've got the lower teams playing the lower teams, which gives you've got Maidstone versus Stevenage. Maidstone plays the winner of Stevenage Port Vale. That means you're going to have one of them clubs in the next round who could then get drawn.
Do you know what? Maidstone, they beat Barrow, didn't they, in the last round? Having a team like Maidstone United in round 4 for them is, financially, for a team of that stature, is absolutely phenomenal.
Well, they've got 60-something thousand for getting through this round, which that doesn't even cover Tuesday for Erling Haaland, but it's 107 for the next round. So that kind of thing is going to set these clubs up for a very long time.
Yeah, that's what I love about the FA Cup, and I do actually like the fact that there are a lot of Premiership teams playing one another in the next round, because I know it sounds a bit harsh, but I like to see a lot of the big boys go out early and give the lower league clubs the run, not only to help them financially, which will sustain them for a season or maybe 2, or maybe even just half a season for some, but it really does get a lot more people interested, because things get boring when it's your big teams that are through, going through the next round. So,
was it Accrington Stanley a few years ago? They got the replay. I think
Accrington Stanley. Who are they?
It was. I think they got the replay with Manchester United or something daft like that back in Accrington.
Yeah,
and that was like 2.5 years worth of the revenue that they could. It's huge when you see clubs like. And I know we are dropping down to the Conference North, but Scunthorpe owner has just fleeced the club full of everything. They've put a consortium together. They've brought the club back. They've now got ownership of the ground again, which is massive for somewhere like Scunthorpe, where you've got nothing nearby. It's not a massive town, and then all they want to do is, they're in the Conference North, and they're still getting in 5,500 a week.
Really?
Yeah, but they are one of three. They're only one of three professional teams in that league, so they could sustain this kind of thing, and that would keep Scunthorpe going for many more years. They were on the brink, absolutely on the brink of nearly going, because the owner was refusing to pay for people, pay wages, pay staff, and they actually set up a crowdfunding the end of September. I think after like 72 hours, they raised like £50,000.
Cool.
And for that club of that stature, that'll pay all non-playing staff for 6 to 8 weeks. That's huge. So,
magic. I mean, today's FA Cup results as well. You had teams like Eastleigh, which are a non-league team, knocking out League One Reading. So that, and I don't know who Eastleigh would be playing next. That's still to be confirmed. But
no, it shouldn't be. That happened late. Because I saw that at 1-1.
Yeah, no, that Eastleigh got their. I think they got their goal in the late 80s, even 90 minutes. So they knocked Reading out today. You also had Wrexham beating Yeovil. I think it was 3-0 to go through as well. And little non-league Aldershot as well held League Two leaders, Stockport, isn't it? They held them to a 2-2 draw as well. And I think I would like to see Aldershot go through that again, because it goes back to what I say. I like to see the smaller teams come through, because I think it means more to those than it does the bigger teams.
They play West Brom away.
Aldershot.
Yeah.
So if they
big game. Well, it's revenue. It's you get 50% of the tickets, don't you, when you're the away team, the FA Cup. So Eastleigh play the winner of Newport Barnet. So again, Newport, Barnet, or Eastleigh in the next round.
Yeah, it's great.
That's If you had one of those play the winner of Maidstone, Stevenage, Port Vale, and then you're talking, into the fifth round, quarterfinals. That'd be huge.
Yeah.
I think we're also skipping over a very exciting Sunday in the Premier League.
Whew, yeah. Yeah.
At the minute, Sunday football is saving Saturday, because Saturday, you had the late kickoff last night. Newcastle beating Man United.
Oh, what a game that was!
Yeah.
What a game! Did you see Kieran Trippier's free kick? Although, all right, it didn't go in, but I think Man United probably had 2/3 of their team in the wall, and some young lad laying down behind them having a kip just in case they go under the wall. But how he hit that free kick and that just missed from going over the line, that was. I was already jumping up, because it was absolutely spectacular.
I do rate him. I still rate him. Big game at Burnley. Burnley beating Sheffield United 5-0, and Everton
fastest goal this year. What was it? 15 seconds or something?
Yes, rapid. Obviously, your guys got a result of that Everton winning away at Forest. Big result for Everton with everything.
I still think I said it. I think I said it last week or week before. Even with their 10-point deduction, I still see Everton not being relegated this year. I still think they'll stay up.
They are 2 points off safety.
Yeah, and that result away to Forest, I think. It's a massive result, because Nottingham Forest isn't an easy place to go. They've held a few people at home this year, but for Everton to go there and get the win, I really hope Everton stay up. I think they're one of only a few clubs that have never been out of the top flight.
Correct,
so to see Everton leave the Premier League would be a
massive loss. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Everton Arsenal, I think they're only two, aren't they?
I don't think Spurs have been out of there either.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think there's about 3 or 4, but yeah, they're up there.
Today's results, I think lesser of the results, if you like. If you got probably West Ham Palace at 1-1 and Bournemouth Villa at 2-2. It's probably
Well, that was a late
the least
2-2 as well.
exciting.
Ollie Watkins, 90 minutes, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
that was a late one. I watched that West Ham Crystal Palace game actually this afternoon, and I think West Ham were very unlucky. It's almost like that. It did seem at times for a majority of the game, not only were they playing the 11 men in front of them, they were also playing against the officials as well. And I think they were very unlucky on a few. I think Palace were very lucky not to have one of theirs sent off for that happened over on the second half, over on the far side of the pitch. The Palace player was dispossessed and he got the ump of it and he lashed out and he kicked the West Ham player in the legs. And it went to VAR. They didn't see nothing of it. They thought, nah, it's all right, no worries. And you think, well, hang on, that should, in my opinion, should have been a red card straight off the bat. He's lashed out and chopped him down. But I think West Ham were playing against the officials as well as Palace today, and I think they were very unlucky as well.
Yeah. Do you think West Ham playing midweek's probably taken out of them?
Oh, yeah, it will do. And it will do for any team, regardless of who you are, whether you're West Ham, Man City, Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, it don't matter who you are. You're playing, in the space of 8 days, playing 3 games. It's going to be tiring. But that is why they have big squads, and it's down to the manager to rotate a bit more, to keep these players a bit more, a bit more fresh, and things. But even when I was a kid playing 3-4 days a week, it was knackering. So, and that was only at schoolboy and Sunday league level. So, what these guys go through, and hats off to them. But yeah, it must have been tiring for them.
Chelsea.
Oh,
what? So I was reading the game because I couldn't watch it. Did Brighton get a penalty or miss a penalty extremely late on, or was there a shout for it?
I'm not too sure. To be honest with you, I've not read or seen anything on the Chelsea Brighton game today. I just Chelsea on a nice little run at the moment, and I mean Brighton, they're not an easy team. I mean, a lot of people had them tipped to be getting into Europe this year, and
well, they're in it themselves this year.
Well, they're in it at the moment, but I mean, talking about next season as well. So they've, I think Chelsea done very well. I mean, Chelsea went down to 10 men as well. So to fend off a team,
first half as well.
So they played the entire second half with 10 men. So to hold that 3-1 lead up until 90 minutes was I mean, they were unfortunate to let a goal in on 92, but they done. Yeah, Chelsea have done themselves justice there. They've done all right. It's a great win for them, and I think that puts them up to 10th as well in the league. So,
I think so. Yeah, it does. I think it's weird because Villa are currently sat in 4th, and we're 14 games in. We're nearly, we're over a third of the way into the season. But I do think you're going to be looking. The top 3 is the top 3: Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. I do think Spurs are going to be occupying. Spurs, Man United are going to be occupying 5th. And then I think the next 2 teams that are going to be fighting out the long term is going to be Newcastle, Chelsea. I do think they're the next big one. Yeah, I do. I think I love Poch. I really do. And I think he will get them going good. I think he
will, but I don't think he will this season. I think he needs this season just to see where his options are, to see what he's going, get rid of a bit of deadwood, and
you have a lot of
work with the kids.
Chelsea. I've been quite fortunate where I've been sat with a few season ticket holders at Chelsea and Spurs, to be fair, and they say similar things, but Chelsea's problem is you've got like Enzo that scored today. He's on like an 8-year contract on $200,000 a week.
Yeah, well, that was the way of getting around the financial fair play rules, wasn't it? But
yeah, and so was the way, to do with the tiering of the payments and stuff. But but you've got quite a few of these players. I think Sterling's on a very large, long contract, and he's on $350,000 a week. There's don't get me wrong, Sterling's been in form and he's been scoring. How Southgate's been ignoring him is beyond me. But he's probably the anomaly to this. But some of these players, there's no motivation. They brought in Wesley Fofana from Leicester, the left back. And again, nothing. He's been injured, and he came back and got injured straight away. But how injured are some of these players? Do they not need to? Do they not want to? 200 grand a week for 8 years minimum, or get my contract brought out, get a massive payoff. I'm not sure I'd be bothered about working that hard.
No, I bloody wouldn't as well.
And I love my job, but there's
I don't work that hard now for a lot less than that, to be fair.
Yeah. So, but big result for Liverpool, considering. Again.
Oh yeah.
There's
late.
There's conspiracy theories in America that basketball's scripted.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to believe that the Premier League is for Liverpool.
Yeah.
How can you keep things so tight and then every week score two? Do you know who else does this? Rangers.
Well, what Glasgow Rangers?
Yeah, if they're ever struggling in a Premier League game and they're 1-0 down or they're 1-1 and it's the 90th minute, they seem to get 2 penalties. Do you know? I don't know. It baffles me. Absolutely baffles me.
Because you think on 80 minutes, Liverpool were 3-2 down.
3-2 down. Probably massively deflated. They're probably not, because they are the kind of team that this happens to a lot and comes back from. But yeah, But I think the big one, the Man City Spurs game.
Well, I was going to talk about that. I mean, for my team, Arsenal, great result for us that we're finishing it as a draw. But I hate to say it, you have to tip your hats off to Tottenham Hotspur there. The team they put out, didn't they field 2 or 3 under 23 players or whatever, or like their second team players?
Yeah.
You know, they gave a few debuts out to a lot of young players there, and for them to get that draw, not just a ball draw, a 3-3 draw against your Erling Haaland, who I think that's the first time he's ever played a game where he's had 5 shots on target and not scored a goal. So
Mr. Sitter as well from penalty spot.
Yeah, you know, Spurs left it late, but all hats off to them, because Manchester City, the reigning champions, they're not an easy team to beat. They have got buckets of talent in that team.
Yeah.
And for a lot of players that are getting their debut, absolutely phenomenal. But I probably am going to be a bit biased on that because it helps my team out that are now top of the table.
Yeah, for now. there is. So Monday night you guys play on Tuesday, but Monday night you've got an FA Cup game, Wimbledon Ramsgate. Again, Ramsgate through because Barnsley field an eligible player. So they
about that.
Yeah, so they drew in the first game. They then recalled a player, and it came on in the second game. And I believe that Forest Green Rovers Blackpool game that got postponed this weekend, they believe that Forest Green Rovers have done the same.
Oh.
So that game, I don't know who they beat in the previous round. So it could be where they end up playing Blackpool. I don't know. You've then got, so you're away at Luton on Tuesday. But the pick of the games of this week has got to be Wednesday night, Manchester United at home to Chelsea. But then you got Spurs West Ham on Thursday as well.
I think Fulham Forest on Wednesday is a big game as well. Villa at home to Man City. I can see Villa getting a result there.
Villa fourth in the league. You know, on paper, why not?
Yeah. Everton Newcastle, that will be a great game as well, because Everton are desperate to pick up points.
Yeah.
Newcastle are desperate to stay up the top there. So I think that'll be great.
And I think as well for you, you've got an invested interest in the Villa Man City, because you go to Villa next Saturday as well for the tea time kickoff.
Yeah, with the late kickoff. Yeah,
and then next Sunday's Tottenham Newcastle. So there's some really exciting football coming up.
Yeah, there is. Talking about exciting football, you see any of the Champions League this week?
I saw the PSG Newcastle.
What a sham that was.
Yeah, and they have come out and they've backtracked on the rule a little bit, or the terminology of the rule, that because it
Do you think the decision would have been different if it wasn't a player of that stature? I mean, we all talk about that, a lot of these high-rated players, whether it be Messi, Ronaldo, or, going back in the day with Beckham and people like that, when it's one of these high-profile creme de la creme players, do they get the decisions that benefit them and their team more than if it was somebody else? So do you think that was somebody other than Kylian Mbappe, whether that would have happened?
Yeah, I do, and only because I think at the minute they are trying to interpret the law as if the game was played on paper. So for those that didn't see, the crossed it's come off his chest and hit his arm.
Yeah,
that's not a handball because it's there's a lot of mitigation in that. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a lot of mitigation. It hasn't just crossed it in his arms, and for how he was, his arms in a natural position.
Given before, though, that's what I'm saying. You've seen him given.
Yes, but that's only because of the terminology of hitting the hand. If it was, if they took, the problem is, and I know we were going to have a discussion on this, but I think we should leave the next discussion for another night. We were talking about players that go into management. There's not enough players that go into refereeing, and there's a reason for that. But a player that goes into refereeing would have much more understanding of where the player's arms are, where there's a big referee in my local area on a Saturday. He does a lot of like the 6th and 7th tier, and I grew up playing football with him, and he was a very solid, very good Sunday League player and a very solid Saturday League player. And he went into refereeing, and he's doing very well from it. But that's because he understands that when you go up for a header, your arm's going to be in the air naturally.
Yeah.
Now,
they are in talks at the moment, aren't they? With ex-players, they're in the talks at the moment to anyone that's interested in going into it, because I believe it can take about 10 years to get up to the, from starting from walking in on day one to then refereeing a Premiership game. It can take up to 10 years, but they're in talks at the moment with a lot of ex-players, whether or not they want to fast track through that. So instead of it taking 10 years, it takes 4 or 5.
There'd be no point. There'd be absolutely no point. There's too much money that they don't need. And you could argue that the lower league players could do it. Yeah, they've probably got a good understanding of it. But I've played, and I have refereed at a very local level. But it's hard. It's very, very hard. It's very fast. It's very quick. If you don't blow it straight away, it's too late, and that's the problem. And so I do think sometimes that there's got to be today in the Man City game. There's a foul. They've played on a little bit. They've played a through ball, and the referee's blown because it looked like it had gone, like the ball had gone, and it turned out Grealish were 1-on-1. Now, had he not blown and the defender was there, they'd have been kicking off the other way around. You just don't know. So I do have a little bit of empathy for him, but at the same time, that too many of the simple things wrong. There's not enough.
Do you think, and I hate to say the swear word, but do you think VAR has made Joe Public more aware of what the referee is doing? So now we're looking at the ref more now, because we know that we've got that backup. Whereas you go back 5 years ago, the ref would make the decision and you'd either go, yeah, all right, fair enough, or you go, that was a bullshit decision, but, it is what it is. Whereas now we know that safety net is there, so all eyes are even more on the officials.
No, I think because the safety net's there, we're not asked what the officials say. We're just bothered about what VAR does.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
So... But again, VAR could be here all night.
Oh, absolutely. So we're not here all night. Then we'll quickly flip back to the Champions League midweek. Manchester United in Turkey and Galatasaray there. That goalkeeper for Manchester. Are you telling me for 40 odd million that was the best you could have got with Onana? And he's now in talks of stepping out of the what's the African nation? Not CONCACAF. It's the
African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, he's talking about not playing for his national team so he can solely concentrate on playing for United and this, that, and the other. But if you've got the best part of £50 million, which isn't pocket change, it is to these teams, but for Joe Public, that's not pocket change, is it? You've got all that money and you go and get the Inter Milan number 2, and that's the best you can come up with. The guy is an absolute joke.
I think that any other Premier League team would be lucky to have him. I rate him.
Really?
Yeah. And if you look at some of these goals, that especially against Galatasaray, I think they conceded 16 goals in their group. You could maybe put 3 of them on him. He is the defending is atrocious. Don't get me wrong, he's made mistakes, right? I'm not getting away from that. But we're forgetting, for the first 2 years of Man United, David De Gea was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
The only reason Ten Hag got rid of him is because he can't play with his feet.
No, but what I'm saying is though, Onana is going to be and will be a top keeper for Manchester United. He will.
Well, we'll watch this space, shall we? Me personally, I can't see it. I think the guy's a joker. I don't think he's up to the level of the Premier League. Yes, you're right in what you're saying that Manchester United's defence are atrocious. I think that whole team is atrocious.
Before this weekend, the second most informed keeper in the Premier League was him.
Behind who? Arsenal?
I think I'll be honest, I don't know it. They didn't say. I was watching the thing and it was they were basically backing him up. So I don't know who they were referring to as number one.
Well, no, I don't. Yeah, me personally, I can't see it. But then again, you have got a point when you talk about the whole United team. I think the whole team is a shambles. They're too busy wanting to throw their arms up in the air and blame everybody else for their mistakes. And I think because he is that last line of defence, yes, all the spotlight is on him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think he's big enough to be put into that spotlight. And I think he needs to. If you're going to come to this, if you're going to come to the UK and play some football with the level of skill that he has, he should have maybe gone down a league or maybe even 2. I don't think he's Premier League material at all.
Well, last 2 points to quickly knock off.
Yeah.
Tonight is the final of the UK Snooker Championship, Ronnie O'Sullivan versus Ding Junhui. I love this final because it's been 16 years since those two played each other in a Triple Crown final where Ronnie won. But these two are actually best friends.
Oh, wow.
So I do really like it when they play each other because it's a bit more to it. Ding Junhui beat Judd Trump in a late one last night. Ronnie O'Sullivan has just been Ronnie O'Sullivan. A few of them have gone 6-5, but he is just class has always prevailed. So it'll be interesting to see who picks up the winner's check.
How long do you reckon O'Sullivan could go on for? Because, I mean, he's been top of the game now for the best part of a decade or so. How long do you reckon he's got in him still?
He's been top of the sport for 23 years. He's probably got another 10 years where he could easily dominate. Whether he wants to or not, that's the problem. He battles. He has a lot of internal battles, but he has a lot of fallouts with Barry Hearn and things. So I don't know. But if he wanted to, this is the thing. If he wanted to, he could turn up and beat anyone 10-0. That's the type of person he is. If he wanted to, the problem is he doesn't always want to be in these places. Literally. So, and the last point is this week. And I thought this was a really interesting thing. So, Rory McIlroy won the PGA's. It's called the PIP, the Player Impact Program.
Oh, I heard about this the other day. Yeah,
basically, whoever generates the most social media interest off of the tour, they win a check at the end of the season. Do you remember seeing, or do you remember seeing the value, or?
It was a stupid amount of money. I heard it on the radio on the way into work during the week, and it was, he's bought in X amount of followers on social media, and he gets an absolutely stupid amount of money.
$15.1 million.
Oh, is this where the world's going, Liam?
Yeah,
Oh my
it is.
day.
It is.
Oh well,
So,
you know, it's. But I mean, we all laugh and joke about social media and people earning money for doing stupid things on it. But we can say all we want about them, but we're the idiots that watch it.
yeah,
So
unfortunately, I want to say that I'm not, but I am.
we're the idiots that watch it and contribute to it, and and give them the status, and then we go up in 51 million. Jesus, yeah,
Yeah,
but hey, we got a part to play in that. But you
yeah,
know what? I should imagine it takes up a lot of his time doing things like that, and so it's still a stupid amount of money, but it's all relevant, isn't it? So you know what?
correct. Yeah,
You know what? I mean, he's one of the top players in the world. He puts in a lot of time and effort, which takes him away from family and things like that, and big events that
and
maybe
he's a nice guy, and he's a nice guy.
Oh yeah, he's I've seen a few videos and interviews, and he's still quite down to earth, and he seems to be a cracking guy. So the fact that he gives up so much to put into the sport,
Yeah.
maybe it's deserved. So
Yes. And also on the back of this, we will put Jordan's Formula One season review on because he can't be here now. So we'll put that onto the back of this. We will be back again next week. Are you here next week?
Yes, I'm off next week, so I have at the moment zero plans. So I will try and put a bit
Be
more
here.
effort than I have this week and be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Have a good week, and I'll catch up with you soon. Take care.
Yeah, catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So we'll move straight into the Formula One, and that's it for the class of 2023. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix was the final race of the season, and although it wasn't as dramatic as previous years, namely 2021, it still was a fantastic race. It still was a race for most teams. There was still all to play for. Obviously, Max Verstappen had already won the championship probably 4 or 5 races ago now at this point. Checo had already sealed second place in the Drivers' Championship in Las Vegas, so the big story was all around the fight between Mercedes and Ferrari for second place in the Constructors, as well as the battle of the backmarkers, so Haas, AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo all fighting for 7th position because it was all still to play for at the back. As well as some scraps in the midfield as well in terms of the Drivers' Championship. The race itself wasn't overly exciting. There wasn't a huge amount of overtakes, but the overtakes that we did get were, or the battles and the racing that we did get was really interesting to watch. Namely, one of the biggest incidents on track came lap 39. So the big long straight after the hairpin, the famous hairpin where Max overtook Lewis in 2021 to take the lead of the race. I think Perez outbraked himself just a tiny little bit. So Lando on the outside, Checo on the inside. He kind of, if you go back and watch the replay, he brakes a little bit later than Lando. He's kind of side by side, maybe a little bit forward of his front axle with his front axle. And he turns in, but then releases the steering ever so slightly and then returns in. And just that action of releasing that steering, it pushes Checo's car wider than he would have liked to have done. And he makes contact with Lando. And although there's no significant damage to either car, Lando was forced off track. He lost probably 5 seconds or so. And Checo obviously just drove straight by him. And the FIA stewards, there was a little bit of controversy in the commentary box. They were saying that it's a racing incident, and Lando kind of gave him room, and Checo gave Lando room, and it's just one of those things where you're battling for a corner. But if you do go back and watch the replay, you can clearly see that Checo steers in, releases the steering, and then retries to gain control of the car, but the oversteer is too powerful, and he just oversteers straight into Lando's front left tyre. And that kind of ruined Checo's race a little bit. He's already secured second in the championship for Red Bull, the first 1-2 that the team has had. But he was awarded a 5-second time penalty by the stewards. And that kind of set the scene for the remaining 14 or 15 laps for battle on a completely different team, Mercedes and Ferrari. So Leclerc was running in second, Russell was running in fourth, Leclerc was running in third, and Perez was running in second. But obviously Checo had that 5-second time penalty. Leclerc trying to kind of be tactical, allowing the overtake, maybe trying to back him up back Russell up, just so kind of Perez would be able to pull 5 seconds. But unfortunately for Leclerc, it didn't come off. Really, really intelligent driving from Charles Leclerc. Potentially it could have pulled off, but you also run the risk of Russell just driving straight round Leclerc to seal it anyway. But the overall kind of result from the Ferrari versus Mercedes battle was Mercedes on top, although not where they would probably like to be, which is back in 2019 when they won 7 years in a row, or more years in a row. But second in the Drivers' Championships for Mercedes and third for Ferrari, separated by just a mere 3 points. Touching on, or continuing on the constructors, so obviously Red Bull finished more than double ahead of Mercedes, so 860 points, which is absolutely insane. 575 of them made up by Max Verstappen, 285 by Sergio Perez. 30 podiums in total in the season for Red Bull, 21 wins, obviously the only one being Singapore when they got the car set up really, really wrong. Mercedes in second, 409 points. Ferrari in third on 406 points. And a really impressive back end of the season from Zak Brown's McLaren. If you think right back to the very start of the season, McLaren were back markers. They were being lapped over and over and over again, race after race after race after race. And they turned it around a couple of races before the summer break, and in the second half of the season they have absolutely smashed it out of the park, beating Aston Martin by over 22 points, 9 podiums, and I'll touch on Oscar Piastri a little bit later, but really, really impressive driving from both McLaren drivers. Battle for 7th went to Williams. Really, really outstanding kind of contribution that James Vowles has made this year, the team principal of Williams. He's there to stay. He's dedicated to the team. He's building a long-term future for Williams, and I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table next year. Really good straight line speed. I think a little bit of doubt or inexperience leading to crashes for Logan Sargent, but confirmed for driving for Williams again next year. Great to see that for Logan Sargent. I really hope he can build on his experience from this year, and the team can kind of maybe not challenge Alpine, but they will consistently finish above AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo and Haas. So the Drivers' Championship then, it was quite simple. Top kind of 3, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton. Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc finished on exactly the same number of points, 206 apiece, but Fernando clinching the 4th spot as he had 8 podiums versus Charles Leclerc 6. Again, Lando Norris, great drive all year round from him. Shame about the first sort of 10 races of the season. However, 205 points, only a point behind Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, who has shown pace all year. So really looking forward to seeing what McLaren can do next year. Are they going to challenge Aston Martin? Are they going to challenge Mercedes and Ferrari? Why not? Oscar Piastri, I said I'd come back to him. So he finishes 9th in the Drivers' Championship, just behind George, well, not just behind, but behind George Russell in 8th. 97 points, 2 podiums and a sprint win, key. really, really outstanding rookie season for Oscar Piastri. Hasn't crashed more than once to my knowledge, and one of them wasn't his fault. I think he was Interlagos, broke his back wing and had a retirement, and then he had a cooling issue on one of the races. I can't remember what the race was, but overall Oscar Piastri has had an outstanding season in his rookie season. Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon finished just 4 points apart in 11th and 12th, both for Alpine. And then we get to the kind of the bottom end of the table. No points for Nick de Vries, obviously replaced by Danny Rick, who only scored 6 points in the back end of the season. I know he was out for 3 races while Liam Lawson was covering him with a broken hand. And it's disappointing for Danny Ricciardo. I think he probably want to do much more next year. Rumours are that AlphaTauri will be using this year's RB19 as a base car. So potentially it may help them in the battle for 7th, but Danny Rick doesn't want to be fighting back markers. He wants to be challenging kind of midfield. He wants to be challenging Alpine, maybe even Aston Martin, depending on their pace. So he needs to do better next year. Logan Sargent, just a single point. As I said, he's got the seat for next year alongside Alex Albon, who finished in 13th position, 27 points. Again, a long way off the Alpines. Overall, as we look towards the winter break, all the teams will be hard at work kind of developing next year's car. Will we see in 2024 another Red Bull dominance? Will we see Mercedes make a comeback, or will we see some of the other teams, McLaren, Aston Martin, kind of challenge Red Bull? Red Bull, what tends to happen is you've got multiple years in a row where one team will dominate. We had Mercedes for 7 years, and we had Red Bull for before. After that, we've had a period where Williams was winning everything constantly, and we just and McLaren pre to Mercedes, but I can't see any other car at the moment other than Red Bull winning in 2024, 2025. We get the new regulations in 2026, but we're talking super long term. Overall, I'll keep my eye on the news. Not expecting anything super big. We've had the main all of the driver's seats confirmed for next year, and most of the teams will keep their developments and cars secretive until a couple of weeks before the season starts. The only other thing to mention before we wrap up on F1 is for Netflix Drive to Survive fans, that has been confirmed as back on our screens from February 2024.
Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. As usual, you'll get us on Twitter and Instagram at SportsCastPod UK. We'll see you again next week.